Hey! In today's video of Don't Be a Wimp 101, we're going to learn how to cook potato pancakes on a hot plate. This is designed basically for people who find themselves in a small apartment and they don't have an oven, or maybe like I have an oven, but I don't like to use it. I don't like to use the gas. There's a terrible smell that comes out of this gas, and I've cooked with gas before, I mean for many years, and it didn't have the smell like this stove has. It's awful. So even in the wintertime when I'm cooking in that stove, I keep the windows open. So I like to use a hot plate. First ingredients we're going to start off with is potatoes. You want to have 2 cooked potatoes. This is going to make serving for 2 people, and it can last for 2 days. This is for people who are also on a budget. And we're going to have 3 raw potatoes. Potatoes are relatively cheap if you're on a budget. You know, some people can't afford a lot. I've been in that situation before. And so these potato pancakes, I was taught this, and I'm not using the exact recipe I was taught. I kind of make my own version. It's called the cheap version, Grandma's cheap version. So basically what I'm doing is I got a shredder here. Yeah, a handheld shredder. You can get one of these at the dollar store for $1, maybe less. Anyway, you just shred the raw potatoes, use the skin and all, because you get fiber in there. Fiber and vitamins are in the skin. You don't want to get rid of that. When you're living on a budget, you want to eat as healthy as you can. Because just because you don't have a lot of money doesn't mean you can't eat healthy. You can. If you have just a little bit to set back. Figure it this way. If you cook at home versus go to, say, McDonald's or White Castles or Burger King, something like that, you know, fast food stuff, you're not only saving money in the long run, but you're saving your health. They cook a lot of their food in saturated fat, and that's why a lot of people, I think in America, have heart disease and obesity. And most people would prefer not to be obese. There's a lot of reasons for being obese, and not all of them have to do with saturated fat, but saturated fat doesn't help. It doesn't help your cholesterol either. So if you want to have a healthy lifestyle, you want to kind of cut that down as much as possible. And cook with things like olive oil. And you know, see, this is kind of a workout in itself. Grating these potatoes into the pot. You can use a bowl, a pot, a plate, whatever you have. I use a bowl because it's kind of a messy deal. These things fly all over the place while you're grating it. It's not like grating cheese, it's a little bit more. It's wetter. These potatoes have a lot of moisture in them. So you're going to have some fine shreds in here. I'm going to shred all 3 of your potatoes. If you have 2 potatoes, let's say you're cooking for yourself in a really small apartment, just get 1 of your potatoes and boil it, and get 1 raw potato, and you can use that for your potato pancakes. The reason you want to cook one is it gives it a different flavor. Some people like to have all raw. Some people like to have all cooked. When I was growing up, my mom would cook all the potatoes. But then my mom-in-law, she was from Germany, and she was the president of Germany's son's dietitian and cook. And that wonderful, beautiful lady could cook anything. She could cook anything. It didn't matter if she had a hot plate. She'd probably do it over a campfire. You know, that's how great she was of a cook. And she could make anything taste fantastic. She didn't get all these expensive ingredients. She could if she wanted to. She had the money to do it. But she liked to do, basically, cooking with whole foods. And those are your best bargain for your health and for economy. She grew up in Germany during World War II, and I read a little bit about the town she grew up in, and it was a really not a great place to be during the war. It was a city of culture, that's for sure. However, it seemed like Hitler liked to visit there quite often. It was a famous place for music, Wagner and things like that. Very famous classical music. So this is what the potatoes look like shredded. And for these right here, your cooked ones, your cooked potatoes, sometimes the skin just falls off. So if it does and you don't want that skin, you can throw it away. But we'll try it. You shred those in with the cooked ones. Those are really easy to shred. You'll have the skin left. You can cook that if you want to. I'll just leave it in because I want to show you how to use the whole potato. Why not, right? I don't see anything against eating a whole potato. I remember when I was a kid, when I was older, and I would hear some kids say, yeah, I want a peanut butter sandwich with the crust cut off. And I thought, what? The crust cut off? That's kind of a control freak thing, you know? I want a peanut butter sandwich with the crust cut off. That's spoiled brat right there. Crust cut off. My family, you ate the crust. You ate everything that you had there because, you know, you're hungry. And if you didn't eat your crust, you weren't going to get something different. You're going to sit there and, oh, you know, I'm hungry. Well, you should have ate your crust. That's what we would have heard. You're hungry. I just gave you a sandwich and you threw away the crust. Good on you. You're hungry. Well, anyway, so you get your potatoes and you get the raw side. And what you want to do is you want to squeeze the moisture out, or as my mother-in-law used to call it, you want to squeeze the starch out. So find a place like your sink, or you know, if you don't have a sink, find a bowl or something and get the starch out. You can also use that potato starch as regular starch. If you need starch in a particular food, you can squeeze the liquid out. I'm squeezing the liquid out by putting it in my hands. See how I'm putting it in my hands? I don't have a fancy tool or anything, but what I'm doing is I'm squeezing. See? Squeezing, the water comes out. So I'm squeezing it into the sink. You want to squeeze the liquid out because it'll hold together better as you fry it. And you don't want your potato pancake to hold together because it's going to be a pancake, right? You don't want it to be loose all over the plate. If you want it to be loose all over the plate, don't squeeze the starch out. And then you can just have it like a meal like that. You don't want to waste the starch. I prefer to make it to where it's semi-dry and then use the eggs for it to hold together. But we're going to try a new type of egg today. And the reason we're going to try it is because you don't have to refrigerate it. As I talked about my other Don't Be a Wimp video, 101, talks about sometimes you don't have a refrigerator. And I know in Europe, in a lot of places, some people have very small refrigerators, so they make very good use of the space in their refrigerator. They don't put a lot in there. They put, you know, they go shopping pretty much daily. And They don't stuff it full of stuff like we do here in America. We stuff our fridge and our freezer full of stuff. It's more convenient for us. The next thing you'll need are onions. But it doesn't necessarily make it better because it's been sitting in the refrigerator or freezer for a long time. It just makes it more convenient so we don't have to go shopping for groceries every day. Sometimes after a person's been out working all day or doing what they do all day, the last thing they want to do is go shopping in the crowds. Or maybe the store is really far away if you have to walk. That's basically how I did my shopping. I used to have to walk. Well, I didn't have to walk, but I did walk. And I'd go there in the middle of the night to Walmart and buy my whatever I needed. But it was about an hour, a little over an hour to walk there and back. That's not bad, you know. It's good exercise. However, if you don't have time, it doesn't work out so good for you. It's always good to have a lot of fresh food sitting around. And by fresh food, I mean fruits, a lot of fruits sitting around, bananas, pears, things like that. So we have our onions peeled, and right here we have chives. We're going to use chives. And some of you may say, what in the heck is a chive? Well, I can show you what a chive is. You can get yourself some seed packets, and you can plant these things called chives. You can plant garlic or chives or onions in a pot. I'll show you what I mean, okay? Right here. So I got some seeds and I put them in a pot, and I got these chives to grow up. You see how they are? They almost look like grass, but when you snip one off and you eat it, it's got a oniony, garlicky taste to it, and it's really great in potatoes and any kind of meats and things like that. I mean, you could do so many things with chives. They're awesome. But what happens with these, which is so great, is that they multiply, and pretty soon it'll cover this whole pot, and then it'll be full in this pot. Then you can separate them. You know, you pull the whole chive ball out, pull them apart, put a small part in another pot, and put another small part in another pot, and then you'll have yourself 3 pots of chives, and they'll grow. And you can keep them outside in the winter if you want, if it doesn't get too cold where you're at. And I mean cold, like really cold. I mean, I lived in the Detroit area, and it got freezing cold there, and they did fine outside. These right here are onions. Well, this one is an onion, onion tops. You can use these to eat. Okay, I'm gonna pull some of these off. You can cut them right down to the bottom. It actually will help the onion bulb take more of the strength inside of it and grow bigger. These right here are garlic. You can use garlic tops in your cooking, believe it or not. So here's a garlic top, and it tastes like garlic. So you get the taste of garlic. You know, you got your bulbs growing there, and you're like, oh, I wish I could have some fresh garlic, but you don't want to take them out yet because they're not big enough. So what you do is you take the tops off and you chop them up like chives and onions, onion tops. So that's my little gardening adventure there. The lesson for today for the wimps. Don't be a wimp. You guys aren't wimps, right? Now, if you're wimps, you wouldn't be watching my channel. You'd be doing a video game or something. I don't know. Whatever wimps do. I never got to be a wimp. Well, maybe I'm a little bit of a wimp. Just a little. So you take these, wash them. Because even in a pot, you know, you're going to get dirt and stuff. You don't want to be crunching down on dirt. Some people like to crunch on dirt maybe, but I'm not one of them. And the people that I cook for, my husband doesn't want to eat it. I'll tell you that. There you go. So we're going to cut these onions. So imagine yourself living in a tiny 100 square foot apartment for years. You don't know. You have no idea what's going to happen in this economy. I mean, I was looking at these things called tiny houses, and I may have mentioned this in my other video. These people are living in these houses that are just as small as an apartment, and they're doing quite well. They seem to be. I think you could do quite well. Why not? It's just a smaller space, right? Your hobbies might change. They might change. You may not collect as much stuff as you used to before. And that's what it is, it's stuff. You hear this phrase about own your stuff, don't let it own you. Well, some people may have had that experience. So say you have too much stuff, you have like a lot of stuff. Pretty soon, before where you used to be pretty carefree and help people and do things, you know, like instead of drive to the store, you'd walk to the store or ride your bike to the store. But then you start to get to where, I think I'm going to drive. You just kind of lose your ability to walk. Anyway, you slice these thin. Slice your onions up. So some people lose the ability to walk or to exercise at all. They just want to drive everywhere. You know, you could get yourself a pair of rollerblades, bicycle, your feet. There was a guy in Detroit, I read about this guy. Oh my God, unbelievable. He walked to his job in another part of the city, and it took him, I think it was 8 hours a day of walking. 8 hours a day for 10 years? You probably find him on the internet. But one day, he was walking along, and some rich guy pulls over and asks him if he wants a ride. And he said, okay. So he took a ride, and I guess as they were going to the guy's job, the guy said to him, you know, I see you walking out here every day. You can't be walking to work. You can't be. This is impossible. The guy says, yeah, I am. I had a car that broke down, and I had to get to work. So I just started walking. That guy did that for 10 years. So this rich guy decides, hey, you know, I'm going to put that story out there about this guy walking 8 hours a day to work. And he did. And the guy decided, you know, out of his generosity to buy this man a car so he didn't have to walk every day. I thought it was an excellent story. It was really nice. However, you know what I wonder? I mean, I might think about this. You probably don't. You probably, some people think about stuff. Some people just read an article and go, oh, that's so great. And then they don't think about it at all. I'm not like that. I mean, my brain, it thinks about stuff like that. And it thinks about it pretty deeply. Maybe a little bit more deeply than most. What I thought about it was, you think that guy ever walks to work now? Do you think he does? I mean, you think he just says to himself, you know what? I miss when I used to walk to work. I know it sounds weird, but I miss it. Okay, yeah, so I'm tearing up like a wimp right now. Why would I be doing that? Maybe it's because I just chopped up 2 onions and a ton of garlic and, oh yeah, it gets to your eyes. But it's good for you. Gets your sinuses going. You're not going to have a problem blowing your nose. Nothing's going to get stuck up there. You're not going to have a stuffy nose. You're going to just unstuff everything with this. But anyway, I wonder about that guy, and I think to myself, I wonder if he ever just says, you know what, I'm going to walk today. For 10 years I walked, and I felt good. I felt better than I do now, because now I feel kind of lazy. I'm used to so much exercise. You know, your body gets used to a lot of exercise. Or maybe he says, I was so tired. I'm so happy to have this car. I'm never going to walk again. I don't know. You know? I don't know. He might say that. He was a relatively young guy. He was in his 50s, I think. And that's relatively young for today. You can live to be old. You can live to be in your hundreds. But there's a joke where this guy's 100 years old and he says, or maybe it's an old lady, and they say, I wish I would have took better care of myself if I was going to live, knew I was going to live this long. I think that's kind of funny because, I don't know, maybe they did take good care of themselves. Who knows? They're living long. So, what you want to do is you're going to turn your burner on, throw your pan here, get your other stuff out of the way, because when you have a small space, you're going to need all the space you can work with. Right here we have parsley. Now you can grow your own fresh parsley if you want. I love the taste of fresh parsley. It is awesome. And it's also really good if you have a bloated stomach or you're retaining a lot of water. Put some of this, about a teaspoon, in a cup with water and boil it. Okay? You can sweeten it if you want to, if you have sugar. You can sweeten it. Sometimes, you know, if you don't have sugar and stuff like that, sometimes if you go to different fast food places, they have like sugar packets. I didn't actually get this from a fast food place, but sometimes they have sugar packets laying out. They used to. Not so much anymore. They used to have a lot of stuff laying out. They don't anymore. People are cutting costs in every way possible. So you put your parsley in there. Stick a little rosemary in there. Rosemary has a great flavor. It smells so good too. Once you try rosemary, you're going to love it in your potato dishes. If you've never had it before. Here's a little bit of dill weed. Now, dill weed makes your food it smells kind of like a pickle. Like the dill pickle. Put a little bit in there. Now you can put anything you want in your potato pancakes. This is ground white pepper. I personally don't like too much black pepper or white pepper, but just put a little bit. Just a little. See, I'm not measuring anything. Got garlic powder here. You could use fresh garlic if that's what you have. That's even better than garlic powder. But if you got garlic powder, you can use that. Now we got some sage. Parsley, sage, rosemary, and thyme. That's what you want to use. Parsley, sage, rosemary, and thyme. And some of you older people might listen to that and start cracking up laughing. It's actually a song. It's some lyrics to a song. Something about Scarborough Fair. Old hippie song. Kind of like this is kind of old hippie cooking here. So you get your olive oil, or any other kind of unsaturated fat oil, stuff that doesn't clog your arteries up. You coat your pan's bottom with it. Don't pour, don't pour too much, but save it to the side here because you might need to use it again. Now this is the product I was talking about. It's called neat egg. This is made out of chia seeds and garbanzo beans. The reason to use something like this is, for instance, we talked about not having a refrigerator in your apartment. This stuff is equal to, this one bag is equal to 10 eggs. So instead of, if you don't have a refrigerator and if you don't have a refrigerator and you want eggs, you're going to have to use your eggs up pretty quickly. You can't just leave them out too long. They do have an expiration to them. So with this, you're going to use 2 tablespoons of water to 1 tablespoon of this neat egg. And basically it's beans. Isn't that weird? Why not, right? It's an agent. So I got water here. We got 1, 2. We want to put 3 eggs in, so we're going to have to use 6 of these waters. 3, 4, 5, and 6. Maybe a tiny bit more. Alright, so then you're going to use a tablespoon of the neat egg. So since we're going to make 3 eggs, we're going to put in 3 tablespoons. That's kind of a heaping tablespoon, no biggie. You don't have to be really super precise with this kind of stuff. That's what I like about the stuff that I cook. I don't have to be super precise. I just cook something that tastes good and doesn't cost a lot of money. Because if you wreck some of your ingredients and it costs a lot of money, you're gonna be like, I'm gonna have to eat it. So you see, it's kind of dry. So the ingredients, I followed the directions, but maybe I put a little too much egg. So I'm gonna put a little more water in there. Stir it up. That's how you kind of check it. Is it the consistency that I want? Is it too glumpy, too gloppy, whatever? You know, put a little more water in there. This is a very different product than how it works differently than eggs do. It'll do the same thing, but it works differently. If you know what I mean? Eggs don't look like this. You know, eggs don't look like that. All glopped in a ball like that. But this will help your potato pancakes stay together. So you pour it in there, and with your hands. Some people want to stir it with a spoon or whatever. I'm all about putting my hands in it, you know, so I can just get it in there and stir it better. Oh, one of the most important ingredients. But you know, if you're salt sensitive, you don't have to use salt. But I got this Lowry seasoned salt stuff. I put it on top, put a generous amount. If you're salt sensitive and you have high blood pressure because of salt, then you don't have to use salt. They've got some stuff out there called Mrs. Dash, or you can just use herbs. You know, just use the herbs that you have. Oh, the most important part, which I haven't used, I haven't got my flour. It's not really the most important. You can make these without flour, but the flour adds a little bit of stickiness to it, which you kind of want. But you know what? I don't think I'm going to put flour in here. I think I'm going to do it without the flour. Let's see how it works, because when you're on a budget, let's say you're not going to be, you can't buy flour. Let's say you just can't buy it. It's just not on your list. It's not a high priority. Just the potatoes are a priority. You know, you want to get some nutrition. And if you get flour anyway, the kind with the best nutrition is going to be the kind that's not the bleached flour. You want unbleached flour or whole wheat. Or if you can, get whole wheat. That's the best. Now this neat egg, it's the first time I've ever worked with it with potato pancakes. And I don't know, it doesn't handle like an egg, but that doesn't make me stop. You know, I'm going to try it. It may taste good, right? So, you get your potatoes, put them in your hand, kind of make small patties in your hand. We got 2 onions in this thing. Press them in there like a hamburger patty. We're not putting flour in it. So hopefully they'll stay together. I wonder. Maybe. If I don't play around with them too much. Put them in balls. You're in a small place and you've got what you need. You'd be happy in life. You don't really need a lot of stuff to make you happy. You know? Maybe if you're a kid and other kids seem to have more than you, maybe you feel like you're not popular, or all the kids got more stuff than you do and things like that. Well, those kids are going to have a hard time when they get older and they have to take care of themselves, because they're used to being spoiled. They're used to being so spoiled that they can't even get their own things. They have to have their parents buying for them. if they're spoiled. I mean, it's nice for parents to help out the kids. That's nice. But if you're an adult and you can't even cook, you know, because you've been so spoiled, or you can't clean your house. I'm not saying that, you know, everybody's like that. There's people who have certain types of mental illnesses that can't do it. But we're basically talking about a certain type of person that is just so spoiled. They get everything they want, and every time they turn around, they, mama and daddy give them what they want. Or grandma or grandpa, you know, like, and I don't mean like a present or some nice clothes or something like that. I mean constantly giving them what they want. Here, 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 here. And the kids never get time to appreciate anything like a Faygo soda or something like a walk to the gas station to get a Faygo soda. I mean, come on. Anybody who comes from Michigan will know what I mean. Go to the gas station and buy a cheap Faygo soda, and it's the middle of summer and it's boiling hot, and you just have a little bit of money, and you get yourself a Faygo soda, maybe a cream soda. That is the best taste in the world at that moment. Now, a kid who's spoiled rotten, who gets everything they want, they probably take a sip, ew, I don't like it, and throw it away, waste it. Whereas a kid that doesn't get what they want would look at them like, have you lost your mind? That was a really good thing you just threw out. It's what they say sometimes, another man's trash, or one man's trash is another man's treasure. You see people throwing stuff out all the time, just tossing it out. It's not even really broken. They just don't want it anymore. They bought too much. They got a big flat screen TV. Well, that's not good enough. I don't even want to take it to the Goodwill. In fact, what I want to do is just throw it out in the trash. It's easier for me. And the delivery man comes and gets a TV that's even bigger. A TV that takes up the whole living room wall. I mean, it's just one thing after another. They can't have a small car with 4-cylinder. They got to have the 8-cylinder. That's okay if you're living on a ranch and you got to go out there and 4-wheel drive to, you know, round up the cattle or something. But do you really need it? An 8-cylinder SUV to cruise around town in? I'm not going to say no, because Detroit is close to my heart, and they are the big three. They have, you know, General Motors, Chrysler, and Ford. And they do a lot. And people depend on the auto industry. I think the best thing that you can do for Detroit is buy American cars. That's right, buy American cars. And a lot of you are like, blah, 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 you know, foreign cars are much better, they last longer. I don't care. That's part of being a wimp, right there. That's part of being a wimp. You want to buy a foreign car, total wimp. You need to buy American. And that is something I will stand by, and I mean, you can argue with me till you're blue in the face, but that will help Detroit, and Detroit needs help. But they are strong. People from Detroit are strong. If you can make it in Detroit, you can make it anywhere. Anywhere. They have a shirt now called Detroit versus everyone. I saw a lady wearing it the other day, and I was like, yeah, there you go. That's a Detroit mentality. You may push us down, but we're going to get back up. And I love that about Detroit. People helping each other, the community helping each other. It's a big deal, and we need more of it. All right, so we're going to have a second part to this Don't Be a Wimp 101 while these babies cook. And after they're done, I will show them to you.